This is a queer fat club.
I'm queer and fat.
Okay, thank you for joining. We're just introducing ourselves at the moment.
Okay.
Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, Joe?
Yeah, my name's Joe. I go by he, they, and I identify as 275 pounds.
Okay.
I feel like Jay's kind of making fun of me, though. I know it's kind of a shock. I know. Kind of a new thing.
I'm just,
Do what?
I said I apologize.
Oh, no, you're good.
Are you comfortable leaving the group at the moment?
Why?
I'm not understanding why you're joining the group.
This is the queer and fat group now.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I came here for.
Okay. And you said you identify as fat?
Yeah.
Okay. This is just for fat-bodied people.
Yeah, I understand. I identify as a fat-bodied person.
I'm not understanding where you're coming from.
Are you guys comfortable with me here? I mean, I'm pretty chill on my end.
I'm not comfortable, no.
Now that is one big, bold, beautiful, curious woman, and if you don't recognize that, maybe you're the bigot. Welcome back. Beautiful and amazing human beings. My name is Luke Rudowski here of WeAreChange.org, and there's a lot of absolutely crazy and wild news to get into today, as of course it does look like some Democrats are trying to put the former president of the United States in jail, as there's now a ban on fake meat in some states in America. What's really going on here, as there's a lot of very serious issues and concerns regarding people's personal health and well-being. Could that be related to potentially EMFs? Well, we'll be talking with the CEO of a major up-and-coming company to discuss that, plus a lot more, all here on this independent media broadcast. If you like the shirt that I'm wearing, you could get it on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. And the clip that we played in the beginning of this video is from @MentorHouso. I don't know who this young brave, I was going to say man, but I was very close. I didn't do it. This very big, bodacious woman, whoever she is absolutely incredible and absolutely deserves to be reaffirmed in her right to identify as she pleases. Because that's the world that we're living in right now, as a lot of people are calling this video a Jedi troll status. As Concerned Citizen on Twitter said that this is Jedi troll status granted to this young, big, plus-sized lady. All of this as another lady is testifying right now in the larger criminal court proceedings of the former president of the United States, as Stormy Daniels is now taking the stand during the making of this video, as she is going into detail about alleged interactions with Donald Trump, as the private affairs of Trump are being made public, with the corporate media absolutely loving every single moment of this. As Donald Trump is facing criminal court proceedings for not filing his expenses correctly, allegedly also forging his documents, as the Daily Mail today is reporting that there's, quote, new proof that the anti-Trump prosecutor in the hush money trial is a, quote, true believer in leftist lawfare, as they now claim that he took thousands of dollars from the Democratic Party, as the man who previously worked for President Obama is being accused of doing everything he can to try to take down his predecessor, as a lot of people are saying that there is clearly a lot of political partisanship here, as it definitely does seem like there are larger attempts to try to bog down the former president of the United States in legal court proceedings rather than allowing him to actually campaign for the presidency, which he should be doing right now. All of this as Trump's aides and personnel are literally planning about how to keep his campaign running if Donald Trump ends up in jail, which could actually be a possibility, as Donald Trump has been found in contempt of court 10 times already during these proceedings, as the judge here keeps threatening him with a jail sentence for these larger contempt charges that as of right now he's only being charged $1,000 for. Now, if Donald Trump continues to violate these gag orders, which he probably will, as he already is unfazed by them, what's going to be the larger result of all of this? Well, if Trump goes to jail, this definitely will be providing the American people with some optics and some perspectives that they never had to deal with before, especially during a very contested election cycle that's only going to get more contested from here, as one of the former Republican hopefuls, Ron DeSantis, recently took to Fox News and endorsed Donald Trump, telling his constituents to, of course, vote for him. As very interestingly, the governor of Florida also just banned lab-grown meat in the state of Florida. This as Jeff Bezos, a resident of Florida, just invested around $60 million into it. Now, are the two events correlated here? Who knows? As of course, Jeff Bezos made the investment 2 months ago. DeSantis just prohibited the sale of lab-grown meat in his state, as there's still a lot of science that hasn't been really kind of figured out here about what could potentially be the larger health impacts of fake artificial meat, as currently a lot of alternative meat products have a lot of heavily processed foods in them. Things like gums, dyes, seed oils, and products that are already banned in Europe, but still somehow allowed to be here available for the American people. This as life expectancy in the Western world is going down, our health issues are increasing, as The Guardian even recently reported how more than 1/3 of people in the United States are exposed to harmful air pollution. All of this as heart disease is also going up dramatically, even particularly in women, especially amongst the ages of 30 to 50. We have a huge rise of other serious ailments, with things like cancers going up dramatically. Could EMFs be the result of this? Well, that's a question that we are going to be asking our next guest. And that, of course, is Josh Bruni, the CEO of American Air's EMF protection company, that reached out to us and said, hey, do you guys want to work together? And I was like, yeah, I'm kind of genuinely curious about this. I saw Gary Brecka talk about this. I saw Russell Brand talk about this. I had some serious questions about this. I asked if we could work with the company, but also have an unscripted, real kind of conversation with the CEO. And they were like, yeah, sure. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Josh Bruni. Josh, thank you so much for joining us today, working with us. As of course, for the people who don't know you, how would you introduce yourself, and what is American Airs Inc.?
I am Josh Bruni. I'm the CEO of American Air's Inc. And we make a technology that modulates electromagnetic radiation so that it's more biologically friendly.
So for the people who are not aware, can you explain what EMF radiation is and how EMF radiation kind of impacts a lot of us? Because I know there's a lot of people that have a lot of particular theories about this. There's a lot of kind of interesting conversations, but personally, this is something that I've been hearing about for a very long time. What can you tell us about this for the people who are not aware about what's really going on?
Yeah, that's a big question. And I will sum it up kind of in a couple little technical aspects, and then maybe the wider ranging conversation I'll leave alone. But the technical side of it is electromagnetic radiation or electromagnetic fields, EMF or EMR, are radio frequencies that are emitted by electronic devices, and specifically the ones that I think that most people think of when they think of EMF or EMR are your cell phone. 5G signals, which are carried through the air with referred to as a square wave, which is foreign to biological organisms such as bodies, like our human bodies, plants, animals, things like that. And the science suggests that it's disruptive to the physiological functions of cells and the way that neurons interact with each other, and that your body's electric and it's communicating in a way that it requires its own electromagnetic field. And so these man-made signals are completely foreign to our bodies. And although most healthy people have some ability to protect themselves against it, there's a large growing amount of evidence in science that suggests that they are harmful in lots of different ways. Specifically, I think what's been trending recently has been on male fertility, male testosterone production, female fertility, and then obviously developing organisms such as children or animals for that matter, and plants. Basically anything that has a high cell reproduction where the cells are turning over at a rapid rate. Those seem to be the areas where science is narrowing in on reasons to be concerned. There's no doubt that cell phone next to your head, or really any part of your body, does create a stress response. I think what science is saying is like, well, how bad is that stress response? So what a lot of people that are familiar with us have seen is we have a very popular ad campaign where we work with a neuroscientist, and he's got an EEG machine on somebody's head, or multiple people's heads actually, and you can see the stress response in the brain, how the neurons are hyperactive in certain regions, and then in other regions they completely shut off, and then our product then normalizes that. And so there's no doubt it causes stress. I think where science is split is saying, okay, most healthy people should be able to handle that. sick people clearly have a different experience altogether. By sick people, I mean there's a lot of people that have neurological disorders or hypersensitive, things like that. So completely different class. But look, science is all over the place. We tend to focus a lot on just talking about our product and our technology and how it modulates the frequencies to be biologically compatible. So what that means is it takes that foreign man-made wave, and through a process through diffraction, we basically take that wave and break it into small pieces and then make it more biologically compatible. And so we do that through a silicon-based resonator chip, and which is basically the same thing as a microprocessor. It's the same material, and it's highly conductive. And so we're able to reshape that electrical wave in a way that's biologically compatible.
Yeah, you guys sent me one of your products. It looks fascinating. I definitely want to get into how to use this thing in a little bit. But personally, on the topics that you were just discussing, I mean, I'm a little paranoid about this stuff because this stuff just came out recently. There's not a lot of long-term studies, especially when it comes to kind of the signals, the radiation. I think a lot of times, humanity kind of looks back at a lot of the things that we implemented, like lead gas, and they're like, maybe that wasn't the right thing to do. Or, the DDT spraying. And then everyone in the beginning was like, yeah, trust the science. And I'm like, wait, hold on. We don't know exactly what's going on here. I try not to use the microwave. When I do, I use it and I kind of run away from it. And I'm like, I kind of feel bad for using it. My cell phone also automatically on speakerphone, just to not try to put it near my head. I also heard and saw really weird stuff about when the cell phone's charging, it allegedly is emitting even more stuff. And I'm like, I'm just gonna be careful here, because I'd rather be more careful than not, especially when it comes to a lot of what potentially could be some of the unforeseen circumstances here. As of course, we have this article here pulled up by CBS News that is detailing how France actually banned the iPhone 12 because of high radiation emissions. So I'm kind of asking myself, and maybe Josh, you could help me answer this question, as of course this was a widely talked about issue here. How much of this is kind of paranoia? How much of this is kind of logical from your perspective, since you're the expert in this, you're looking into all of this stuff? What's the bigger piece that we're missing here that we should know about?
So I don't think that it is paranoia. I think one thing that's really fascinating about this topic, and like a lot, and keep in mind, like in the US in particular, or North America, we tend to err on the side of innovation. And I think that actually does mirror more of like my own belief system, as well as like we will push forward through advancements in technology and improving the quality of life and things like that, and then figure it out later, right? Like I feel that's more of what the mentality is, specifically in the US and I think in Canada as well. And I think that some of the things that you mentioned, like, lead paint or like smoking or all the other materials that we've made that we've later said, hey, maybe those were we took a wrong approach. They've all moved, arguably most have moved humankind forward in some fashion. And there have been some negative consequences along the way. I think this is the same thing. I think, I've grown up in the digital world. My whole career has been online, and, I grew up in a period of time where the internet was really taking off, and I saw that vision and I jumped on, an early, .com era. So like 98, 99, 2000, and I've never looked back. And so, I think the internet and technology have been a huge blessing. And I think that's a big part of our kind of vision and mission here is to really be innovation focused. It's also what makes our technology so powerful. Is it doesn't it actually allows you to continue to use your technology without fear of those side effects, right? Without fear of those electromagnetic radiation, regardless of what science says. It's an insurance policy. So that day in a few years or 5 years, whenever that moment comes, they're like, yeah, we were wrong about that. You don't have to really worry about that, because we are technology users. My whole desk is filled with technology. I don't even know how many computers I even have around me. Wi-Fi routers, all that stuff. And I just don't really have the same concern as someone that is concerned, but that doesn't have the technology. We see a day where our technology, because it is a technology-based solution that is solving a technology problem, will be just built into computers, routers, cell phones. It's super small. The closer to the source of radiation, the smaller it needs to be, because it uses the electromagnetic field from the environment or from the device itself to actually power on. And that's what makes this a really it's easy to incorporate into another piece of technology. So I see this period of time in a very, very near future where I believe that will be that catalytic converter of environmental pollution, EMF. So that's kind of the world that I see. When you think of like what's happening with the cell phones, like in France, for example, a lot of what you see, and when you look in your terms and conditions of like this of the iPhone, for example, it mentions RF frequencies, and then it mentions SAR, or the standard absorption rate, which is really not the right metric. I would think that most people that are concerned about the effect on humans, the standard absorption rate has more to do with the heating of tissues. And although that is important, it's not the mechanism that I would say most scientists and researchers are concerned about. It's more of how the cells are interacting with one another, and the disruption of the processes. Now, heat is a concern. Is you'll hear other doctors, and there's a Stanford researcher's popular podcast. He mentions just having the phone in your pocket. The heat from that is bad. But he also mentions electromagnetic fields as two separate topics. One for the reasons that I mentioned, and then heat, obviously, because heat is just for tissues, that's just super disruptive. So two separate topics, but the standard absorption rate, which is the current metric used to determine if something is safe or not, is not really the relevant thing to measure. So when France does ban it, because it is outside of that range, it actually is alarming, because that is a large amount of radiation. That's a large amount of radio frequency that's being transmitted. And keep in mind, the one that got the most attention was that iPhone 12, but there's a whole list that, if you dug a little deeper, that were banned previously as well. So that wasn't the first one. That was just one that got the most attention for some odd reason. And I think it has more to do with when we talk about the future and where this goes, and where you're seeing a lot of the conversation go is updating the standards, measuring the right things, and then holding the technology companies accountable to those metrics. I think that's really where you're going to see a lot of the arguments come from. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the presidential candidate, is probably one of the bigger voices, get the biggest platform. He has represented a lot of clients in the EMF world. And just a few years ago, his organization actually won a court case against the FCC and the FDA. It was really the FCC, because they were using the FDA as a third party validating of their ruling. And he won that case, or his group won that case, to basically say that the FCC had been ignoring the science and the health risks. And a lot of people don't know that, but that was a major court case that just a lot of people didn't know about. It was literally a year and a half ago, and it just kind of flew under the radar. But these conversations and these things are happening in the background to just update the guidelines. And so again, that's the promise of our technology, is you can kind of live this life where you don't really have to worry about the negative effects, and let the lawmakers and the regulators, let them all figure that out. But you can just kind of live without that worry. And so the one thing that I would just add on the topic of our technology is, there's really no other solution out there that actually delivers on the promise that we have, which is the free use of your technology without the negative consequences of long-term exposure to EMF. But then it's also backed by so much scientific evidence, and our ability to demonstrate efficacy in real time through heart rate variability, through the EEG, through looking at the physiology. There's just nothing else like that. And so in our video I mentioned, where we show the neuroscientists demonstrating the effect, we can essentially do that anytime, anywhere, with anybody. And you can show the negative effect that the phone has, but you can also then see the positive effect that our technology has. And we know that because we're just replicating peer-reviewed research that we've already done multiple times. That, again, really, that's done in the clinic, done in a controlled environment, and then peer-reviewed, and then published research. So that's how we came up with that idea. Was it's what they did to prove our technology works. So I'll stop there. I know I just unloaded a lot, but this is a very loaded conversation, and we try to make it super easy and say we have a technology solution. It's super easy to demonstrate that it works. It's built on scientific principles that are well understood. We're not asking, there's no woo-woo, anything like that around this. This is just, physics and understanding wave theory and the electromagnetic fields, people that understand that have no issues understanding how this product works because it's grounded in very well understood scientific principles.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, is putting your cell phone in your pocket really a problem? And you kind of already answered that, as of course, a lot of people have a lot of issues and concerns with what you just said 2 questions back, because you were saying, if people are healthy, they should be fine with this, but people aren't healthy. The cancer rates are soaring. Fertility rates are going down. People are dealing with serious health problems more than ever. Life expectancy for the first time in a long time has started to go down, and people kind of are asking themselves what's really going on here. Do you think EMF radiation or do you think some of this like Wi-Fi or 5G could be playing a role in this, or what's really going on here?
Well, one point of clarification, I mentioned healthy people in the fact that it takes a lot to bring a healthy person down, whether that's exposure to, other, germs and illness and whatever else is around you. If you're healthy, you're pretty resilient regardless, right? Now, what we know from long-term exposure to EMF is that your body is always under stress from the EMF. And so your body is always battling that stress, whether you're healthy or not, your body's always battling that. And so when you're a healthy person, the benefit that you're going to get is you actually don't know what your true baseline is. So when you remove that stress, what does your baseline actually look like? What does sleep look like for you when you remove that electromagnetic fields? What does 5 o'clock in the afternoon look like for you when you're working and you're grinding and trying to finish your day and you're feeling tired, you're feeling fatigued and you're not able to focus? What does it look like when you remove that stress of EMF? I think that's a part that a lot of healthy people overlook, because you're fairly durable as it is, but you actually don't know what your baseline is. And so when we look at where does our product fit in the healthy person's life, I think there's 2 things come to mind. Number one, it is understanding what your real baseline is. And whenever you do, let's say, get sick or something is affecting you, the exposure to EMF, and there's a lot of research. These aren't my words. This is what the research suggests, is EMF exacerbates and really speeds up and opens up the doors for lots of things. And so, like I said, I won't quote all of the different things because I leave that to the experts, but a quick Google search or looking at any of the research documents, you'll find really quickly how it affects healthy people and how it creates a snowball effect of when that door is open and, let's say, sickness, illness, whatever gets inside, the EMF then exacerbates because it never allows that door to close shut. And so when you think about where does EMF protection or our product in particular fit into a healthy person's life, it really is a foundational piece, just like sleep, hydration, and stress management. It really is just a core tenet of a healthy lifestyle. And it's, again, I go back to, like, it's kind of a set it and forget it thing. It's like you're taking pills, like you just put it on your phone. And then the second piece, and this is where you're going to see us start to move towards, and this is why you're seeing so many professional athletes and elite performers and celebrities start to gravitate towards us. And you expect a lot of news from us going forward of like new partnerships and collaborations that we're doing. And the reason why is because there is a thing as positive EMF, meaning like something that is beneficial. And like there's a big trend right now in kind of the biohacking world or the retraining and recovery world where there's a tool called PEMF or pulse electromagnetic fields. And that's basically a mat that you lay on or put your body on, and it actually generates an electromagnetic field that creates a positive stimulation to the body. And so that's like I said, a beneficial frequency that is tuning to your body, or that your body's tuning to it. And so the part of our technology that makes it extremely unique compared to anything else that's on the market, let's say like a blocking technology where you slide your phone into an envelope and your phone doesn't work anymore, but it does protect you. It's just not scalable or useful in really a long-term way. Or like you can buy clothing that blocks you. There is some risk to that because you can also block EMF inside and then magnify it. So that's a little bit of risk. And it's also, again, not practical to have a whole wardrobe made out of whatever that stuff is made out of that protects you. And with our technology, the way that it works is through a process of constructive interference and destructive interference. And so what that means is destructive interference would be like noise canceling headphones where 2 waves basically think of colliding and then cancel each other out. But then there's constructive interference where it's amplifying beneficial waves. Again, think of the ocean where two waves merge together and get larger. That's constructive interference. And so because the frequencies that our product is tuned to is a wide band of frequency that matches your biology. And so it does pass through and have a stimulating effect of beneficial frequencies. And that does make it very unique. And that's why you're seeing the wider application of our technology will expand outside of just EMF protection. Sorry.
No, it's totally fine.
So that's why you'll see it expand outside of EMF protection. And we're doing a lot of work with I would say some of the mental health world. And again, it's early. I don't have any real studies that I want to quote just yet, but we are doing a lot of work in that field of kind of the mental health, and then some stuff with addiction and things like that. And so we have a lot more news there. But then you look at the professional athletes that we work with, and someone that has a really high, healthy baseline. Well, what benefit are they getting? And so you see someone like Macy Barber, who's a UFC fighter. She contacted, she had such a great story, the first phone call that we had with her. And she was just saying, look, I don't know what's going on, but I'm sleeping better. I'm recovering faster, and, on and on and on. And so we went and did a brain scan with her and looked at her, the raw data. We looked at the printouts and things like that. And she was having a very interesting effect because she had really high, different parts of her brain were very high powered to begin with. And so you just saw this ability to focus and just this calming of the mind, because you saw the stimulating effect that this had on low firing neurons or under firing neurons, as well as bringing down the hyperactive neurons. And so this normalizing effect that occurred was more from the stimulating effect of the product or the technology versus the protection aspect of it. So more research to do there, but it's actually outlined in the 40 different studies that are on our website already. It's part of each one of those studies. It does discuss in depth the stimulating effect of the beneficial frequencies, in addition to the canceling out of the negative ones, or the neutralizing of the negative ones.
Fascinating stuff. I was just going to ask you about your clientele, your customers, what they're saying, what their reviews are of this. I've seen Russell Brand talk about this, Gary Brecka, Ben Greenfield, and I'm like, okay, I'm kind of curious about this. We got one here on the table here. We're going to tell you, you're going to have to help me tell me exactly how to use this, not to use this in a little bit. But who are? I think even Kim Kardashian was seen with one of these. But as far as your customer base, what are they saying? What are their reviews? And who else are you guys trying to work with?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, you mentioned some names there that I would say I technically they've maybe mentioned or talked about us, but we don't have a formal relationship with some of them. We did kick off a partnership with Rumble, and this is an ongoing relationship that we've had with Rumble that we've been slowly building. And Russell Brand being one of the larger voices on the platform, and also just a really great fit for our brand and our product. We did a pilot campaign with him recently through Rumble, and that's what you're referring to. And so you have seen some campaigns with him. And Ben Greenfield has been a partner of ours for quite some time. And he's an OG in the wellness podcast world. I don't even know when he started, but it's been a long time. And he's always had a really loyal global audience, and this product in our technology has really resonated well with his audience. And we actually have a podcast we're doing together later this month that I'm super excited about. I'm gonna meet with him in his home in Washington. And so that's a lot of fun. And then, some of the others you mentioned, like I said, we don't really have a formal relationship with them at this point. I'm optimistic that with some of the names you mentioned that we will, but they're either customers, fans, or kind of poking around some of the science of it. And so yeah, more to come there. But I kind of mentioned some of the athletes. We're really bullish on athletes. And I say that because we have so many coming to us. There's some news I announced probably a month ago with a partnership we did with William Morris Endeavor, or WME. And they're one of the largest, if not the largest, talent agency. They manage a lot of the big events. They're partnered with the UFC. They're partnered with different, conferences in college football. They manage these sports programs and whatnot. And the reason why I connected with them was because I was overwhelmed with the number of professional athletes, college athletes, and just top performers that were coming to us. Like my inbox on a daily basis was getting filled up with inquiries. So I reached out and to a common, acquaintance, and then we ended up formalizing an agreement. And right now we're just filtering through all the different partners who aligns with us, who aligns with our story, who really gets it, who fits, and things like that. But athletes, like I said, they're just highly tuned. And there's kind of two things that we've seen emerge in our data. We have the group that I would call is hypersensitive. Let's say people that have typically neurological disorder of some sort, or have had chronic illness of some sort. They're typically very sensitive to all inputs, whether that's environmental or food or whatever. They're incredibly sensitive to the inputs. The same thing is true about high performers, or let's say elite athletes. They know exactly how much sleep they got. They know exactly what's going in their body. They know exactly, but their training regimen is not guessing every single day. It's extremely rigid and predictable. And so when something disrupts them in a positive way or even a negative way, they understand it the same way as I would say a very sick person does, or someone that's hypersensitive to the neurological inputs. And so what we've seen emerge is we have these two extreme groups who theoretically probably wouldn't be in the same customer base, but they are. And so the idea being they both are just extremely sensitive to the inputs. And so they know when something's working or something's not working. And case in point would be we have a Mike Bender, who's a screenwriter out of Hollywood with Comedy Central and some other things that he's done. He wrote a really great piece in Men's Health about his struggle with Lyme disease and just his hypersensitivity. And so we mentioned it somewhere on our website or blog post or social, and he reached out to us months later after he wrote that article. And I loved the article, by the way, and that's why I wanted to mention it. I loved it because it was such an approachable topic. Like, you didn't think he was weird. It was in Men's Health. It was this, and he's such a great writer, and you felt his pain as you're reading this journey he had, and never once questioning whether he was telling the truth or not. It wasn't even part of the conversation, versus you get on the internet and you talk about people in EMF, it can get weird real quick, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, here you have this normal guy, the Hollywood screenwriter, who's been battling this for a decade, and he just journals this whole thing and shares this experience with you. Anyways, he reaches out and just expressing how much this technology has changed his life and how it's allowed him to travel. He did a video for us. Again, we're not partnered with him in any way. He's just doing this because he's so excited about the technology. He wants to share the message. He did this fun video with his wife, how it saved his marriage. It's kind of a joke, but because she's also in kind of Hollywood in the entertainment world, and she's on her phone, and every time she's on her phone, he reacts negatively. And so now they can coexist, and she can be on her phone and he can be around her. But he talks about traveling again. He talks about maybe building a van, and he can actually physically travel around. And it's such a great story. So we have people like that, but then we also have the Macy Barbers of the world, who are these tuned athletes that are constantly fighting, abusing their bodies, pushing it to the limits, that are also having a similar, experience of recovery, improve focus, improve, cognitive function, all these different things that they're experiencing. And when you go to our website and you look at our science and you look at our data, we're not surprised, because all of our data suggests that already. We've known that for decades of this research. And so now it's nice to see that actually happening in the market.
Yeah, that's absolutely incredible. As of course, a lot of athletes are always looking for that kind of small performance edge. They're always looking at just the smallest minutia kind of difference that they could implement in their lives to give them that edge over the competition. But what's the backstory of this company, American Airs? Can you tell us about how you got to the place that you're at right now, and what's your vision for it for the next 10 years moving forward? How do you plan on scaling everything and moving forward?
Yeah, really good question. I like the question in a couple ways, because I like for people to understand that this technology, we didn't just think of this and put this product out there. This is actually multiple decades of work across continents, really, and the number of scientists and smart people, I would just call them, all the smart people whose fingerprints are all over this project going back decades. It's more than I can count, and more than I'm gonna put a number on. But you can, again, look at the research that we have on the website, look at the peer-reviewed studies, look at the published studies. It covers multiple countries, everything from European countries, multiple European countries, people from doctors and scientists from India did a recent peer review of some of the stuff that our team put out. People from the UK, Canada. There's a lot of fingerprints over this science and this research over decades. And so Dimitri, who's the founder of American Aries, founded it. I don't know actually how many years ago, but I think the first the public formation of it was in November 2019. And he's more of a product guy, understands the science, really on the mission to kind of solve this EMF problem and make it safer for everybody. And then I joined in late 2021. And my background, as I mentioned kind of before, is I've been in the internet space for multiple decades. I've had the opportunity to work with some really great companies, big companies, household names. I've been on the inside of the brands and working with them and growing with them. I've also done a lot on the consulting and agency side. And so I've got to see a lot. I've worked from fashion and apparel, footwear, food and beverage, the wellness category that I would say, call it supplements, and kind of the better for you category of CPG, and really at a big scale, whether that's selling direct to consumer, Amazon, Walmart, Target, wherever. I've had a lot of repetitions doing that, a lot of success growing brands through all channels. But the one thing that always just stays the same is your ability to connect with consumers and really help them find solutions to their problems, and doing it in a way that I would say is specific to the individual users. So we have some real, I call it 5-6 different user profiles right now that we really develop a lot of content for and really a lot of messaging for. It doesn't mean that's all of our users. It just, that's kind of where we started and have continued to amplify. What we're seeing is that is starting to naturally broaden, and the scope of who we're talking to, how we're talking to them, is continuing to widen, and more and more people discover and learn about Aries and the technology and the solutions. It is, like I said, it's starting to really snowball in a really positive way. But really, on any given month, we ship product to over 60 countries, and we have fulfillment centers in Australia, UK, Europe, Canada, US, and we have a new partnership in Taiwan that covers a big part of the Asian countries. And we expect to probably open some additional ones based upon the signals and the demand that we're seeing just organically grow. And so we've opened those fulfillment centers to really to manage that demand. But if you go back to looking at our financials in late 2021 when I joined, we did about double the revenue in that first quarter that I was there. So we did about $2 million in that first year. Call it 2021. I was there for just that final quarter, really. And so we did good things, but when we hit that next year, really kind of on a sprint in 2022, we did nearly 6 million revenue. You have to double check the math on that, but it's somewhere between 5 and 6 million. And then last year we announced that we did just between 10 and 11 million. So we've had a really strong growth in the consumer markets, and that's built on this growth engine that I've kind of alluded to, where we're able to really speak to particular users. And then we've partnered with Vayner Commerce to build what we call a growth model, which is we know our marketing is highly tuned and specific, where we know we can put $1 in and get $3 out or $4 out, or whatever our numbers are that we're trying to really reach, and then we can scale that up with a high level of precision. And that's really that's really been multiple years in the making, but we've been demonstrating it now for multiple years that it's effective. But any one point, we're running 500 to 1,000 pieces of creative, testing and learning and iterating and continuing to understand what is the customer needs, wants, when do they need to hear it, how do they need to hear it, how is it going to be delivered, what are the different use cases, and then really on this mission to just improve the overall lives of all the different users out there, and spreading the awareness of the problem, but then also providing the solution as well.
Yeah, fascinating stuff there, Josh. We definitely went a little bit over time, but I have your product in my hand right now, the LifeTune 1. How do I use this? I have this. I just opened up the box. I have this. Do I put this in my pocket? Do I put it around my neck? I have a cell phone with a case on it. Do I put it on top of the case? Do I not have a case? And are there any kind of uses for this kind of technology outside of just the single consumer?
Yes. Let me talk about the different use cases and the kind of the applications and things like that. We've been, and you can go back into some of our old news. About 2 years ago, we launched a a study, an observational study with the largest beekeeping organization in Canada. And bees in particular, we have a lot of our own research on, and electromagnetic fields and how they disrupt hives and their ability to communicate, their ability to protect themselves, just the overall wellness factor within a hive is already a very vulnerable thing. And so there's a lot of science in the kind of the animal world, and specifically with bees, on electromagnetic frequencies and how they disrupt the colonies or the hive's ability to protect and operate in a tuned way. And so our technology allows that to happen within the hive to eliminate that disruption. And so we have a lot of great results from that we haven't really put out there, because we're still collecting it all, but I'm really fascinated by that. And that's just one application. If you spend any time looking at the effects of electromagnetic radiation on plants and animals all over the world, there are countless studies. And the interesting thing about plants and animals that I really like is the fact that everyone wants to protect them, and no one is mad about the EMF conversation like they are with humans. Everybody wants to jump and help the animals, right? And the insects, specifically the bees, and they're willing to accept the fact that EMF is potentially a problem and harmful for bees. But yet on the human side, we're a little resistant to that sometimes. So the agriculture and animals is a really fascinating topic for me. Another one is cattle typically have those biometric meters that are put in them to be able to send information back to the ranchers to measure the health of the herd. And that has also been proven to, because they're constantly connected through cell signals, to potentially be a problem. And that's another area of research that we're super excited about. And we've had some conversations, and I expect to push more that direction in the future as well. So the application of where this technology fits is really any sort of area where disruption to biological function due to exposure to EMF is a problem. That's where you're going to see our technology in the future. And so the applications are really far reaching. And so the how to use the product now, really quickly, you're talking about the LifeTune 1, and
yes,
that's the
LifeTune 1.
Yeah, that I would just say, clean the back of your phone. We usually provide an alcohol wipe in there, clean it off. You can just stick it right to it. If you have a case on it, you can stick it to the case. Some people cut out a little hole in the case, put it on there. Either way is fine. That little barrier between the case and there isn't going to be a problem. The nice thing about that one, it is super small. It's about the size of a really small coin. And it's about the size of the camera, actually, the little camera lens on an iPhone. And so it looks really nice on there. It doesn't disrupt anything. You forget that's even there. The nice thing about that one, though, is it can be small because it's right next to the antenna. We have this little experiment that we'll share out, and maybe I can send it to you as well, where I have a little LED bulb. It's actually right here. And it's just a standard LED. You can buy it on Amazon, and you can put that on your phone, and it'll actually light up. There's that much energy in the atmosphere to light this up. And so that's what's great about that is you take that leap, you understand that there's that much energy in the atmosphere from your cell phone, from the antennas, which are several of them on the iPhone. And then it's not that big of a jump to understand now, now you got a semiconductor that you just put on there with our product. And then now understanding what it does, it starts to make more sense when you understand electricity and how it works. And you can actually see there's electricity in the atmosphere when you put this little LED on the phone. So anyways, so hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah. So do I put it in any specific part on the phone, or do I put it near because I see a lot of people put it kind of near their camera lenses.
I think people do that
near the camera lenses or anywhere.
Yeah, really anywhere. I think people do that from the aesthetic standpoint. The antennas there's multiple antennas that are kind of all around the perimeter of the phone. And the reason why you have multiple antennas is it's grabbing all the different signals that are coming in and then processing it to reorganize it, put it back together. And it has multiple antennas so that it can receive multiple types of signals, but then also if one signal from one antenna drops, it's picked up by the other one and then reassembled. So there's quite a few antennas around your cell phone. So pretty much anywhere on the cell phone, it's going to be effective.
Yeah, Josh, we definitely went way over time because the conversation is just fascinating, interesting. I've always been curious about all this stuff. So it's really cool to see companies actually address a lot of these issues and concerns. If you're ever in Miami, you got to come back on our 2-hour podcast because I bet we could probably fill up all the time there. But for the time being now, where can people find you? Where can people kind of support your work and check out more about you and anything else you want to say about what we have here in front of us?
Yeah, I would go to airstech.com and you can find all the science. We have a really good, robust science page there. If you're interested in investing, we are a public company, and to be able to invest in that, go down to the bottom in the footer. You can learn more about investing in the company and kind of the performance and what it looks like going forward, and where I should say where it's been. And but just learn about the product on there, and then I would say is definitely start there.
Awesome, Josh. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for joining us. Definitely, ever in Miami, come down and we will have you on the show because this is really fascinating stuff, really important stuff. And thank you for everything that you do. And if you appreciated it, share it with your friends and family members, as of course, you getting the word out means more to us than ever. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for more here on youtube.com/We Are Change.